Hello, Cousin Johnny here. We'd like to thank our sponsors for the Buzzin' with Cousins show. We thank you. Thank you, that garlic stuff. If you like garlic, you're going to love it. Put it on just about anything. That garlic stuff. Tuesday, Alvarado Farmers Market, or go to thatgarlicstuff.com. Thank you. Thank you, I Heart You Candles and Gifts. 222 17th Street, Pacific Grove. Beautiful hand poured candles made with love. Go see Sherry at 222 17th Street in Pacific Grove. I Heart You Candles and Gifts. Thank you. Thank you, Max Fit Meals, 520 Fremont Street. Grab and go healthy meals. They're delish. On your way from home from work, go grab some, heat them up, and fantastic. Thank you, Suds Cyber Laundry, 709 Lighthouse, Pacific Grove. Great modern machines, big screen TV, coffee, and a great friendly staff. Thank you, Suds. Thank you, the Whiskey Club, 425 Alvarado Street. Over 600 whiskeys to choose from. Go on in, relax, enjoy a nice whiskey. They also have a bottle shop. It's great. Great place to relax and enjoy. Tell them Cousin sent you. Thank you. Bye. Hello, how's everybody doing out there? Cousin Johnny here, bringing you another show. And I was driving in my old neighborhood. I grew up here in this beautiful paradise of Monterey. And I grew up on Spaghetti Hill. And I was driving around the neighborhood, and I got kind of melancholy and just thinking about, when I was growing up here in Monterey. So I thought I would talk about it. So I invited a friend of mine, Vince Ferrante, and we're going to reminisce about growing up here in this beautiful place, Monterey. So please welcome Vince Ferrante. Hi, Vince.
Hey, Johnny. Nice to see you again. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Absolutely, Johnny.
So, Vince, this is a great place that we grew up in, and we're still here. It's fantastic. So I wanted to kind of just tell everybody just little tidbits of what was happening when we were growing up. So, Vince, for you, you were born here in Monterey, right? At you told me Carmel Hospital.
Yeah, I was born in the old Carmel Hospital off of Highway 1 back in 1940. 40, after the war, 42.
Yeah.
And you said you mentioned that you grew up on Spaghetti Hill. So did I. I was on the lower end of Spaghetti Hill, next to the old Troya's Market, Monterey.
Yeah. Are you on Pacific?
Yeah, I was on Pacific Street, just off between Scott Street and Jackson.
My grandmother lived on Pacific. Speaking of,
did she?
Yeah, she lived like 2 doors down from Jackson Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's close by me.
Maybe 3 doors down from Jackson Street. Now, let's tell everybody where Jackson Street is. Jackson Street is there's that Hotel Pacific.
Pacific Hotel.
That Jackson Street was
that's
kind of through the hotel.
Yeah, it's the cul-de-sac now when you come off of Van Buren Street, which is Van Buren is one street above Pacific Street. Jackson Street used to go all the way through down Cala Principal at one time.
Now, speaking of Pacific Street and Troya's Market was one of we just had a handful of stores at that time, and all of the Sicilians, mostly Sicilians, that was their place to go, was Troya's Market. And there was another one on Cali Principal called Roma Market.
That's right.
And that was down on Cali Principal, probably the location of Where's the location you think now?
right,
Where the
right next
Portola
door.
Plaza Hotel is in that area?
Yeah, it was actually right next door to Cala Principal Motors, Lincoln Mercury dealership, which is right next door to the present day Pacific house, the Adobe there on the corner of Scott and Scott Street and where the plaza is now.
So let's. I'm going to show Troya's Market. There's
299. That's 299 Pacific Street, and the fellow that's standing in front of the store, that's none other than Mr. Troya, the father of Troya's Market. They came here after the war, or just about around the war, in the mid 40s from New York. The whole family, he brought the whole family out. And the Genoveses had that store before them. And when Genoveses gave up that store, the Genovese family moved down to Alvarado and Cala Principal back to back. They had a grocery store down there, Genoveses did. And so the Troya family took over that market.
I guess Troya's, they had it from 1947, I believe, to 1993. Yes. They did move the store to Kitty Corner across the street on Del Monte.
That's right. They were the last business to be able to stay open during the urban renewal. Everything around them on both sides of the street and below them was demolished due to the urban renewal. And so the Troya market was able to stay open until the new store was built at the old where the Solicito house used to be on the corner of now Del Monte and Pacific. That was adjacent to the Ferrante property. Pietro Ferrante had the property. That was called the upper part of Del Monte Street. Johnny was between, that's now between Pacific and Van Buren. Used to be called Sobranos Alley, and it was only about the width of one lane. And the Ferrante, Pietro Ferrante had most of that property that went from behind where Troya's is now, all the way to Van Buren, and then all the way over to Franken Street.
Okay, yeah. I was remember that everybody used to shop there, and my grandmother lived here. I don't know, maybe 40 years when she came over from Sicily, and I think 40 years she only spoke she only knew like two English words, because growing up you had Troya's Market, they spoke Sicilian, so you didn't have to speak English. Then we had a milkman that used to come and drop the milk and juice and all that. He was he spoke Sicilian.
Yep.
Then we had a dry cleaner. They used to, bring the dry cleaning. He spoke Sicilian. Then we had a bread truck that used to come around. That guy spoke Sicilian.
Yeah.
Then we had two tellers at, I think it was Bank of America, that were daughters of some Sicilian families, and they spoke Sicilian, so you didn't have to learn English. That was crazy.
You had it covered. And don't forget Mr. Battaglia, that had the peddler that had the peddler truck that used to sell the fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, Mr. John Battaglia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he used to go up and down the streets there in Spaghetti Hill, peddling all their merchandise, whether it was the bakery truck, the peddler, or the milkman that delivered the milk and whatever else. But, when you talk about Johnny, when you talk about Troya's Market, across the street, we forgot about Joe Crivello. We used to call him Jumbo.
Oh,
Jumbo.
yeah.
Remember Jumbo's? That was the grocery store. And then he had the property behind it, the apartments and everything, his house. But he used to sit in the back, and we used to we used to go up there. You know, he had the fruit stands out in the front of his market,
Oh yeah,
and
I
we used to,
remember. I remember now. Yeah.
yeah, we used to roll a watermelon from one end to the other, you know, and then go eat it up in a lot someplace. But I guess I say in my confession now. But then you had Troya's Market in the old
Yeah.
store at 299 Pacific Street, and my house was at 275, which was two doors down from Troya's. And then below it, like I said, Genovese had theirs well, you know, it started on Alvarado Street, the front of the store on Genovese's Market. But then the back of the store was on Cala Principal, so you could walk through the store. And then don't forget, on Cala Principal, next to Cala Principal Motors, you had Roma Market. The Belici family had that,
Yeah.
Campagno family. And then you had Bert Davy as the butcher in there. And then remember, next to the Flea House, the Monterey Theater on Alvarado Street,
Yeah.
you had Ideal Market, which was Sal Riccello was the butcher over there. Him and his wife Sally had that market. So, yeah, you know, we had markets all over the place that the Sicilian families could go to. They had their favorite stores that they used to shop at. They had their favorite butchers in those days,
Yeah.
whether it
They
was
had really. They had
Sam
really.
Troya or Sal Riccello or whoever it was, you know, Bert Davy. That's the only places they would shop.
They had a great meat markets, and here's one on the complete other side of town. Buy Right Market.
Oh, Buy Right. You know, I go there when I'm in Monterey. I like their sandwiches over there. Yeah, and you know, when you go up the pony up to the counter there to order your sandwich, that's the section of the store that used to be the old butcher department, you know, and the walk-in boxes right there also kind of brings back memories of Troya's Market when I worked there for a time, you know, and that's where I got my start, Johnny. 1956. I was a young kid, and I walked in the store one day. I had a paper out. I was about 12 years old, something like that.
You're talking
And
about Buy Right? Buy Right?
no, Troy. Going back to Troya's. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and
Wow.
yeah,
Really
Buy Right. That was Sala family, I believe, had that market, if I'm not mistaken. But
now, yeah. If I remember right from what I heard, stories is the great Monterey sardine fishing fleet used to have an account, I think, at Troya's, and they would get their provisions for their fishing expeditions, whatever.
You know, if I could tell you a little bit about Troya's history, I'd be happy to do it.
Go ahead.
Well, like I said, I began my 42-year grocery career there at Troya's. I had a paper out with the Monterey Herald at the time. And so I was looking, you know, to pick up a little extra money for saving, buying my school clothes, helping my parents, you know, a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
And so I walked in, and of course, just a couple doors away from where I lived at. I walked in there and I talked to Andy and Sam one day. I said, "Hey, you ever need a person to clean up the butcher shop?" You know, in those days, you couldn't sell meat after 6 o'clock at night, and you couldn't sell meat on Sundays. So
really?
the way it used to be is you gave it a quick cleanup in the butcher shop Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday afternoon late, you started tearing down the meat department and cleaning it real good. I mean, just everything, you know, all the equipment inside the meat counter. In those days, they were service meat counters, meaning that they waited on you in person. It wasn't like you see today, self-service markets, you know, and such, where the meat's already wrapped. So they said, sure. Sam said, yeah, I'll train them. So that's where I started cleaning up the butcher shops. And then little by little, over time, I started on the grocery side, stocking shelves. And, you know, they talk about the three brothers. Actually, there were four brothers.
Yeah.
It was Tony Troya was the oldest, and then Frank, Andy, and Sam. Frank had Meadow Gold Dairy over in Lighthouse Avenue, New Monterey. It's the old Del Monte.
I got it.
Yeah, the old Del Monte it says up on the store, on the building front, present day, says Del Monte
Oh
Farms on
yeah, I've
top of,
seen it. Yeah,
yeah.
I
So,
didn't realize that there was a fourth brother until I did some research.
yeah,
A little
Frank
bit of
didn't want to stay in the
on
grocery
Troy
business,
Farm.
and
Yeah,
their parents had already died. Well, Mr. Troy had passed on, and Andy was the one that wrote the checks, but they were all three involved. So they kind of took me under their wing and sort of adopted me, and I was like the other brother, young kid, and got to learn to trade and things of that nature. And then when I got my driver's license, I was like the backup delivery boy. And when you talked about credit, yeah, a lot of people had to buy their groceries, and then they ran the tab, and then especially the commercial fishermen, they'd
yeah.
um, they'd get their groceries there, and run the tab, and then at the end of the month when they go pay their bills, they go pay off their grocery bill. And some people don't realize it, but we used to make night deliveries. On historic Old Fisherman's Wharf, where all the restaurants are,
Yeah.
back in the day, that was basically more fish markets than there were restaurants. And so when the captain of the boat, the skipper, would come in the store and order the food items, they'd eat pretty hearty at night fishing in the waters of Monterey Bay.
Yeah.
We put up the orders, and then at 7 o'clock, we used to close the store, and I'd help Andy or Tony, whomever, load up the truck, and we go down to the wharf, and each area on the wharf was the designated spots for the crew of the fishermen. So we knew where the spots were. And
Oh, I
so
got
if it was the JV Ferrante, we knew where that crew was. If it was the city of Monterey, the same thing. If it was the New Roma, it didn't matter. It was Star Monterey. We knew where the spots were, so we offload the groceries. And then those fellas would take the boxes and put them on the skiffs, roll them out to the boat, and then they offload on the boat and go out and do their thing. And the other thing was we made two deliveries during the day, one at 11 o'clock in the morning and one at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we delivered to the various customers up around Spaghetti Hill and thereabouts, a few places maybe in New Monterey, and they'd run a tab and pay accordingly. But yeah, we had home deliveries. Now you see that in the major chain stores, a lot of them,
Yeah, they're
Safeway
doing
and
that. You
others, you see that. We were doing that back in the day. Not
were
only
doing
us,
that
but
then.
Roma Market, there was Ideal Market. They were all doing the same thing. They had their customers, we had ours.
That was great.
Yeah. So I spent 42 years in that rat race. I went from a cleanup boy
Man, I didn't know that,
to
Vince.
to a grocery clerk to a butcher, and retired from Albertsons 42 years later as a meat supervisor.
Wow, great, Vince.
Yeah.
I,
So that was my
I didn't
career.
know that.
Yeah. Then I got into education and became a coach, and something I really enjoyed doing for many years also. And now I'm a politician. Take after Dan Albert,
Yeah.
Coach Albert. Yep. He always used to ask me, he says, "Hey, Ferrante," he says, "why do you do these things?" I says, "Because you're my idol. I love you. I do it because of you."
That's it. And right down the street from Troyes, well, not down the street, but a little bit farther on Franklin Street, we had the Grand Dame of hotels, and that was called the Hotel San Carlos. Look at that, beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's on the Pacific Street side. Pardon me, on the Franklin Street side of the entrance to it. Yeah, that was a beautiful building, John. I remember walking by there a million times.
So let
You
me
know,
tell everybody, when you're going down Franklin Street, uh, you know, past Pacific, you see the Marriott on the left side. There's a shipping and receiving area on Franklin Street. That actually was the front entrance to the great Hotel San Carlos, where the entrance is now on Cali Principal, where the Marriott entrance now was. I think they had the restaurant, they had the barber shop, and then they had like a little parking garage. So the entrance was on the Franklin Street hill at that time, and you walked up. It had this beautiful koi pool and a beautiful entrance, and what an elegant. There's
Yeah, there's the pond.
there's a
There's the fish
pond
pond
there.
and the entrance
And,
to the hotel.
you gotta look at this.
If
Look
you
at the
if you
look at the lobby of that beautiful hotel.
yeah, there's a staircase in the back, and the elevator was just off to the side of it.
Now, just to the left here, I don't know if you could see this arrow on this area. They had a room, a banquet room called the Pacific Room.
That's right.
I would say, since I was growing up, there must have been, I remember at least 25, 30 weddings that I could remember. And there were so many before and after that were right there at the Pacific Room, which was a really great room. Big giant bar, stage. They also had, I think, a couple of other banquet rooms upstairs. And then they had a couple of restaurants.
Yeah.
So those were really good memories of walking through that place as a kid. And my grandfather used to take me downstairs. They had the barber shop.
That's right.
And we'd get the haircut.
That's right. If you could go back, Johnny, if you could go back to that first shot of the hotel showing the entrance on Franklin Street, I could tell you a few things. Okay. Looking at it to the left side where that black vehicle is, where the awnings are, that was the Pacific Room. That's on the corner of Franklin and Pacific Street. And then I know you probably can't swing it up to the top, but when you talked about other banquet rooms, way up on the top was the banquet room that had a spring floor on it. And a lot of wedding receptions. I know my parents' wedding reception was way up on the top floor. That was a popular venue there, along with the Pacific Room downstairs for different events, like you said, wedding receptions, engagements, birthday parties. Also, something comes to my mind, Johnny, when I look at the awnings there at the Pacific Room. I remember my mom, I was probably about 11, 12 years old, something like that. And they used to have an event there called the Cotillion. And young boys and girls would dress up in suits and nice dresses. And they used to learn how to dance the foxtrot, the waltz.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And the cha-cha, and you had a dancing instructor there. And you learned the proper etiquette and how to address the young lady and such, and dancing partners and such. And that was quite a unique thing. My mom sent me there for a few years. It was pretty cool back in the day.
I love it. Yeah, I really miss it. Yeah, and going to quite a few baptisms, communions, weddings, funerals. And going on right now. There we go.
There it is.
The St. Carlos Cathedral was over 200 years old.
It is.
And still going strong. They did a little bit of a remodel about 7-8 years ago. I mean, nothing major, but they had to spiff it up a little bit. Because you can only do so much with a historical building. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't doctor it up too much. But they did a really great job. And myself, I'm Catholic, so I had a baptized there. And we had a first Holy Communion there. So, and in fact, I'm still going there. Every now and then I still go. So it's a great place right there. And
Yeah, Johnny, when you talk about the renovation to that restoration on that,
yeah,
a lot of the trees and stuff had to be removed because a lot of the roots and such started to um, get into the adobe walls and such. And it was quite a major renovation on that thing, restoration. Um, a lot of the facings um, was very delicate. They were losing some of the material off the facings of the church
yeah,
there.
they had some really. They had to be very careful with that building, and I guess it was flooded downstairs. There was
That's
all
right.
kinds of stuff. And
Yeah, they put a new roof on that also, I believe. I think they had to restructure the roof to retrofit the make sure it was earthquake proof and such too.
okay, I'm here looking for some more photos here.
Yeah, you're back in the lobby of the San Carlos Hotel.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't make hotels like that anymore. At least I don't see them.
uh,
All that historic
Vince, it was a
architecture.
classic. So Vince,
Yes, sir.
uh, uh, the Festa Italia originally was called the Santa Rosalia Festival. Your grandmother was instrumental in bringing this event, something like 80 something years ago. Can you tell us about it? How did it start?
Yeah, many years ago, Sicilians that came from Isola and Palermo region, they had the saint over there, Santa Rosalia. It was a patron saint of fishermen. And so they want to reenact the ceremony here in Monterey for the commercial fishermen. So there was a group of ladies that got together, remembering some of the names, the Mrs. Balbo. There was my grandmother, Josephina Ferrante, and her sister-in-law, Rosa Ferrante, Pietro's wife. And there was Mrs. Jamona, my grandmother's cousin, and uh, other ladies. I can't remember them all. There were about, I think, 6 or 8 of them, if I remember the way the story goes. And they used to go around. They were the ladies that used to decorate the altar at the church, on Saturdays. And I guess it was kind of like the altar society or whatever. And so they were instrumental in going around and collecting flowers from the different um, neighbors' yards, and
Yeah,
putting together to, as you can see, the Santa Rosalia there on that float. She has flowers around her and such. So that was one of the ways that they started this festival. It was like a fisherman's festival. That's wharf number 2, as we locals call it, the new wharf. And
yeah,
that's where they go from the church down the shot that you showed earlier there at the Santa Carlos Church, and they proceed down Figueroa Street all the way to the wharf, and they'd have a big fish barbecue, celebration, blessing of the boats, boat parade. The boats would come off their moorings and dress up their boats with pennants and stuff like that, and blow their horns, and families to be on the boat. And most of all, which was important, was the priests from the parish, San Carlos Church, would bless the fleet
oh, bless the
for,
fleet for a
yes, sir.
prosperous season
Eh,
and a safe season. Yeah,
Yeah, they'd for safe voyage, for plentiful catch, so they'd have, uh, and then unfortunately, one of the things that was incorporated in that ceremony was over time, some of the fishermen unfortunately lost their lives from drownings, from the fishing boats exploding and things
yeah,
of that nature, and boats sinking. So we lost lives of precious lives of the fishermen. And so every year and to this day, we still celebrate the names of all the deceased fishermen that passed on. And it's quite a memorable ceremony. Johnny, I was director of the Festa Parade for many years.
Oh yeah, Vince, thank you for your service in that. That's really great.
Yeah,
I
and
noticed now you volunteer still at where the steak sandwich booth.
yeah, you catch me at sandwich booth. I go over there and help Gasper. I get the bread from Palermo. But let me go back and just say something real quick. When we were down the wharf, we take the religious part of the parade to the wharf with a priest and a bishop here in Monterey. The years that I was doing the parade, and when we called off the names, and each one was a special thing, I get chills up and down my back, and it's just so solemn because one of the names was a cousin of mine who lost his life, Frank Pamulia from the San Francisco Bay Area. They were coming in from fishing and just near Point Bonito, which is west of the Gold Gate Bridge, and the boat flipped over and sank. Lost a few local fishermen that were on the boat that were from Monterey,
Wow.
friends of his. And so when I hear those names every year, it just kind of
that's
brings back some memories, Johnny.
A nice honor that they mentioned them.
Yeah.
And we still had the festival still going strong. So
absolutely, we're close.
Go down and get a beer, a glass of wine, listen to some really great entertainment, and say hello to Vince Ferrante at the steak sand booth.
Yeah.
I just remember myself and a couple of friends of mine. We used to, like a Saturday afternoon, we used to go to the longest, probably the oldest business in Alvarado and maybe in Monterey. I don't know, but it's pretty close to the oldest. I know Alvarado Street for sure. This is a newer photo. It's not an old photo, but we used to come to right here, Hellam's Tobacco Shop.
Oh, yeah.
They had so much candy that we would, not only they had tobacco, but they had candy, and we would go there and we load up on candy because, and I'll tell you why we were loading up on candy, because we were going to go to a movie.
Oh, yeah.
A State Theater.
State Theater.
Fabulous place. And we would get the candy. So because it was a lot less than going to the theater. And we would bring it into the State Theater. We'd see a couple of cartoons, and there would be I think I saw that movie Ben-Hur there or whatever back.
Yeah. If I could just say something about Hellam's, besides the candy and stuff, they had joke things in there. You could buy little things for pulling a joke on a friend of yours or whatever. Yeah. You remember that, Mr. Hellam?
Yeah.
There, he just show you how to do the tricks. You buy something and you could be a magician, and do little tricks and things like that. But you talked about getting the candy there. Let's scan back. We can't do it, but just looking at the front of the Golden State Theater there, and going to the right and going down a little bit towards Red's Donuts, right next to it was, remember the comic corn store, the popcorns? We used to, instead of getting popcorn at the State Theater, the line used to go back to the right of it, all the way towards Bonifacio. And so we'd be standing in line, and then the line used to curve into the comic corn store to get the popcorn. Then you came back out, and then you went and bought your ticket at the State Theater, and they used to give you a dirty look because you coming in with comic corn popcorn.
Oh,
and, and you had the candy from Hellam's that they didn't see because it was in your pocket, and then you went and sat in the show.
Now, Vince, there was I remember at this time I was younger, 13, 14 maybe, but they had a drive-in theater over there where the Monterey Pines golf course is. They call it the Maple School Golf Course. There was a drive-in theater, and my dad and my mom, we'd go to the drive-in theater. But when we got done with the theater, we came back and we went to the El Patio.
The El Patio.
Patio. It was a drive-in.
That's right.
You park your car they'd
That's
come
right.
out, they put the tray on your window, you
Yep.
get a milkshake, a hamburger, or
Yeah.
whatever. But I mean, they weren't skaters. They didn't have
No.
skates. They
No, they were
walked,
just, yeah, she came out with regular shoes on, and
and a lot of guys were there with their hot rods. All the
I
hot
got,
rods are all parked there. And I was a young kid. I was in amazement looking at these
yeah, that's,
Chevy, whatever.
that's the present day Denny's restaurant now. The
Yeah,
present day
now
Denny's
it's
restaurant.
Denny's
Yeah.
right
But
across the street from which is another classic hotel at that time, the Casa Munros.
Castle Munros, that's right, John.
Casa Munros was a
Yeah.
classic hotel at that
Yeah.
time.
Can I
And
share a quick story of the El Patio restaurant?
go ahead, yeah.
Okay. I'm with a couple of buddies of mine. There's JJ Richello, myself, and Anthony Galero, the late Anthony Galero. Well, the three of us grew up together, and probably Buster Carvello might have been in the car. And we're sitting in there having coffee for 10 cents a cup, right?
Yeah.
Get free refills. And so we're sitting and we're facing the front of the restaurant there in the car. And we're more towards the Casa Munro side, that side of the parking lot.
Yeah.
And we got our tray in the car. And so my dad, who was a widower at the time, was dating this Italian lady. Okay. And so she had lost her husband. And so my dad is out and he had the family car. I'm with my buddies in somebody else's car.
Yeah.
And so one of my buddies says, "Hey, isn't that your dad's car? There's a few cars over at the car hop at the El Patio." And I said, I don't know. I have to get out. So I get out and I kind of look over there, and sure enough, it's my father. He's doing the same thing we're doing. Here's this grown adult man out on a date, a widower with a widow, and they're having a cup of coffee, I guess, together. And us teenagers are a few cars over. So that was quite we kid about it. So I asked my dad after I got home.
Did he
I said,
see
"Hey,
you?
how
Or
was your date?
did you talk to him?
I said, "How's your cup of coffee?" He
Oh,
says,
man.
"What are you talking about?" I said,
Yeah.
"I seen you hanging out at the El Patio." And he says, "Where were you at?" I says, "About 4 cars over."
Yeah. All right. And we we hang out. I think more than half of the kids or people here in Monterey, so one way or another, they worked on Fisherman's Wharf. I worked at Rafa's. My mom worked at Rafa's. I worked at the fish market. There was a lot of history down at Fisherman's Wharf.
That's right.
Did you work at the Fisherman's Wharf at all, or you were at Troy's?
Yeah. If I go back just real quick about the El Patio, one of the other things we used to do is pull out, and then we used to cruise down past where Trader Joe's is now, the old Safeway, and then into Alvarado Street, because it was one way going towards Pacific Grove, and then go all the way to where the plaza is now and loop around and go up Cala Principal and go through what the Partolo Hotel lobby is now. It used to be Cala Principal.
Oh,
In front of the Marriott's now, which is Cala Principal, and loop all the way
before
back
the tunnel,
around back down Polk Street and back around to El Patio and make the loop. That was cruising around Monterey
It must
Street.
have been the loop went on for like 3 hours. I mean, it must have been at least 15. How many? Like 50 times.
Oh yeah.
Around.
Hey, 15 cents a gallon for gas in those days.
Yeah.
And 25 cents to get into State Theater, and 15 cents to get into old Flea House and Monterey Theater down on Lower Alvarado Street on Saturday afternoons, like you said.
There's a Monterey, over 100 sardine fishing boats in the heyday.
Oh yeah, that's treasure right there. That's a lot of money off those boats. Those guys, look at right there. That's right next to Rapids. Well, I don't know what the name of the restaurant is now at the end of the wharf there, Fisherman's Wharf. To the left of it is
Rockfish Bar and Grill, I think now.
Yeah. And those tanks, those are the tanning tanks. And those guys are working on their nets. And what they do is they haul the net because it's made out of cotton material, and they put them in those tanks. And they used to tar the nets to preserve the cotton. So periodically, they'd have to take the net off the boat. And that's where they used to tan their nets, in those big tanks. And then after that was done, they'd establish them back on the stern of the boat. And if there was any mending or anything that had to be done, they do it before they tanned the boat net, because they put new cotton lines on the net, patch them up. And then later, they take them out in the bay, and they'd take the net off and let it wash the nets, and take all the old fish barnacles and stuff off the nets. But you showed that net being hauled up, yeah. That's when they make a set with the skiff and the boat, and they'd tighten up the net like a purse. They haul it up with the boom and the winch on the boat, and then they'd haul it and go into the boat hole in the middle of the boat deck, and then take it over to Canterbury Road to unload.
That's how they got the name purse seiner, because the net looked like a purse.
That's
when
right.
It would go up. And
well, there was
down at Hovedon Cannery, which is the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
That's it.
At the
I remember there were at least 3 types of nets. My grandfather, when he came from Sicily, he brought a pattern of the Lampara net, and some of the boats were the Lampara design boat had the Lampara net on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Before that, they had the gill net, which was a bigger holes, and then they had the seine, So there were variations of the net, the way they set them and designed them, and now they use, I think, all nylon material, and that's that's a beautiful picture right there.
I remember, going down where the Hovedon Cannery is. My grandmother used to work there, and we were just here it is, all this heavy equipment, knives, machinery, and we, as kids, we would just walk in. My grandmother would stop, give us a hug. There was nobody saying, "Hey, where you going? Stop. We got liability." No one was saying we. And then my grandmother go, "I got to go back to work." And then, and then we would just go on our way. Simple life,
That's the same cannery my father used to sell his fish to, was Hovedon Cannery. That was the last one on Canterbury Road going towards Pacific Grove.
Yeah.
And present day, Monterey Bay Aquarium. Yeah, that was quite
Now, Vince, tell me something. When you, every Sunday we had kind of like not a formal, but we had, everybody got together. You had to be there. You couldn't go anywhere. I'd always tell my mom, "I want to go here." "No, you got to be here on Sunday." But we'd have the, the spaghetti dinner.
Yeah.
And we hang out and talk or whatever. And I was wanting to get out so much. And anyway, tell me if you did this. After the dinner, after a couple hours, you had a family cruise. And we go to the Sillamar, and there it is.
Oh, my God. Frank. Oh, God bless him.
This guy, Frank, had a truck.
Frank.
And he parked over there where the lighthouse is.
That's right.
He'd have ice cream and hot dogs. And every Sunday we used to pull in after our dinner around 3:30. We'd always have a cruise. And we'd go Cannery Row, Alvarado Street, Pacific Grove. Then we'd end up at Frank's on the Sillamar. And I'd get out and we'd get a nice ice cream cone. And that was a tradition. Did you guys do that too, Frank?
Oh,
Vince?
Can I tell you a quick story about that?
Go ahead.
Okay. So you get up in the morning on Sunday, get dressed. A lot of times I used to have a suit on and a tie. I was a young kid. Okay. Go to San Carlos Church, you go to Mass. Okay. You finish Mass. Of course, I was altar boy in those days. So I served Mass with Monsignor Ryan or whatever, one of the other priests that was there, whatever the schedule was. Okay. I finished that. Johnny, I had 3 options for Sunday dinner. Okay. Pasta, meatballs, pasta with the chicken, pasta with the roast, pasta
Oh
with the
man.
pig's feet. It didn't matter what it was, okay? So if my Uncle Sheik Russo, my Aunt Francis's husband and the family was at church, okay, I get a ride back up the hill. If they passed Pacific Street, ended up on Larkin Street at their house, I knew where I was eating Sunday dinner at, okay?
Yeah.
It was at my Uncle Sheik's house, okay? And maybe they had a roast with the pasta, okay? But then there was sometimes I'd eat at my Uncle Joe's house on Madison Street next to the high school on Larkin and Madison Street. My Uncle Joe Ferrante and his wife Marie and my cousin Josephine and Angela and their mother, Marie and Mrs. Bologna. And they'd have maybe chicken with pasta, okay, and then fruit afterwards. And
Yo.
then if I went home after Mass, it was spaghetti and meatballs, pasta and meatballs. But
Nice.
yeah, and then it was the ride afterwards. You went around the point and you went over near the lighthouse, like you said, and you seen Frank's. That was Wonder Ice Cream that they served. They had the Wonder Ice Cream place there on Washington Street, right next to Al's Good Eats,
Yeah, yeah.
across from the old Herald building
Oh
on
yeah,
Washington
yeah.
Street. And man, Frank had that thing. That's a Dodge powered truck that they converted into a stand. Like I would say that's probably one of the first food wagons ever. Now you see them
Right.
all over the place. We have them here in Salinas. We have them. I call them
Yeah.
taco
That
wagons.
was one of the first food truck. That was a food truck. Yeah.
Yeah, hot dogs, like you said, the ice cream, the candy,
And the sign
and
says
and
Frank.
don't forget, you took peanuts. You got a bag of peanuts before you went and saw Frank. You stopped off in one of those turnouts, and you had to go feed the squirrels too.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You remember you had to feed the
Oh,
squirrels.
I remember. Frank's famous Frank's. The sign says.
I often wonder where that vehicle ended up. And
I heard
somebody
it
told,
ended up. They. I don't know. It ended up somewhere. I think they didn't take care of it. They had to destroy it.
yeah, I heard it was wood. That cab was wood there, and the termites got it. I heard, but
Yeah.
I was thinking it should have been nice to be able to preserve that thing and put it on display someplace.
Bring it. Yeah. Put it on. Bring it on. It would have been nice to put on
Yeah,
display.
good
Yeah.
memories.
Really good memories.
Yeah.
Okay, we're winding down a little bit here, and I was just going to wrap it up here, Vince. And Vince, I really appreciate you coming on with some of these great stories of Monterey. And we can't forget that Mike Murata Sr.
Oh my goodness.
and
I
Johnny Catalano and
Johnny
Johnny
Catalano.
Wise
Yeah.
Rose and all the people that Conchetta, all the people that entertained us, especially at the Santa Rosalia Festa Italia for over
That's
50
right.
years.
Frank Novo on the drums. That's
Yeah.
right. Catalano on the saxophone and the clarinet.
And clarinet.
Yep.
So, Vince, I appreciate you coming on. And I want to do one thing before we go.
Sure.
And let's see if I could do this coming up here.
We can't forget Louis Pool Hall down on Lower Alvarado Street and Moss's Barbershop.
Oh, yeah.
I was telling Leon Panetta one day, I said, you remember the barbershop? Because his father had the restaurant there, on the corner of Del Monte and Alvarado.
Yeah.
And I said, Leon, you remember going to Moss's for a haircut? And
yeah, that was Lower Alvarado had a lot of pool halls.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that. He was laughing. Remember the table? Did you ever get a haircut at Moss's, Johnny?
No, I used to go to
Shorty's?
San Carlos Hotel.
Oh, San Carlos. Yeah, that was upper class. But we used to get the flat tops over there from Moss.
Oh yeah. I think I did once or something. But anyway, so we like to close out the show, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in. And, here we are, this beautiful community. And whether you're an old timer like us or you just moved to Monterey, 5 months ago, treasure these memories in this beautiful town, this beautiful paradise. So we're going to close out with a clip of Mike Murata, Ree Brunell, who was entertained us for many years here in Monterey. They had a band called the Monterey International, and so they're going to join us, and they're accompanied with the band Monterey International, and I can't. So here we go.
Tell me when will you be mine? Tell me quando we can share a love divine. Please don't make me wait again. Will you say yes to me? Baby, quando you be happiness for me. Oh my darling, tell me why every moment today and every day's a lifetime. Let me show you the way to the love beyond compare. Can't wait a moment more. Dimmi quando say it to me that you're and my darling, tell me when. Show off. How am I around, lady? Every moment and every day's a lifetime. Let me show you the way to a love beyond compare. Can't wait a moment more. Feeling freedom from the table. Say it to me that you're gone. And my darling, tell me when. Tell me. Oh, baby, tell
Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Vince Ferrante, and that band was the Monterey Internationals. Dave Dolly, Steve Hansen, Ree Brunell, Mike Murata Jr., Mike Murata Sr., and we thank them for many years of what they did entertaining us. And some of them aren't with us right now, but their memory lives on. So And I just, before I go, I just wanted to say all the events that we've had here: Monterey Pop Festival, we had the Monterey Folk Festival, we had the Crosby AT&T, the Jazz Festival. So I just want to give everybody as much as I can a tribute to this beautiful place, Monterey. So Cousin Johnny and Vince Ferrante out. Everybody have a great day. Thank you, Vince.